Hi there. Do you struggle with writing summaries in your tests and your exam or end of term tests? You are not alone. Many GCE candidates and internal high school students suffer from the same issues. And it's not because they don't understand the passage, and it's not because they don't understand what they are supposed to do, but they actually don't know how to do what they're supposed to do. What do I mean? Summary writing requires that you learn a skill and you apply that skill when you're given a passage. So in this video, I'm going to teach you about how to write a summary and get good grades. Okay, so without wasting time, let's dive in. What is a summary? A summary is a shortened version of a longer text. It is an abridged version of a longer text. Your goal is to pick out ideas and write them in your own way, maintaining the meaning and shortening that. And you are lucky if you're going to write GCE exam or grade 12 exam, you are given the number of words, the limit. So you know how many words you're supposed to write. So in writing a summary, you are not rewriting the original, just copying and pasting on your paper. You are engaged in condensing key ideas using your own words. And as a GCE candidate in English, you are going to summarize a passage. You need to develop this ability. Okay, let's look at types of summaries. In Zambia, we teach two types of summaries. The first one is not form or not summary. In not form, you write your summary in point form. But don't be deceived, this is only for grade 10 and lower grades, grade 8, grade 9, and grade 10. In grade 11, you are expected to start using sentences, to use sentence connectors to connect ideas to form a paragraph. So you'll be expected to write it in paragraph form. And for your final exam, don't even think about writing a note summary because they'll never ask you to do that. But you can use a note summary to plan your whole summary or to just jot ideas which you later connect to form what is called prose summary. So prose summary is a short paragraph, or it's a summary that's written in paragraph form. How can you approach a summary question? Number one, read the question carefully. Look for what the examiner wants. Are they asking you to summarize causes, effects, advantages? You need to know, because sometimes you may have a long passage and the examiner is just asking you to focus on one part where you, for example, are supposed to summarize advantages, so you just focus on that. Secondly, skim the passage. When you read the first time, just skim, and skimming means that read it quickly to just get a general idea of what the passage is about. Don't worry about reading the details, especially if you are writing your test or your exam. You need to keep as much time as you can to yourself so that you can have, time to go through what you have written. Then step number 3, reread and highlight key points. When you are reading the second time, highlight key points, because you know the question, you have skimmed through the passage, at least you've got an idea. So when you start reading, start underlining or circling the keywords that will be part of your summary. Number 4, eliminate what's not needed, meaning that you should only focus on the information that answers the question. Only focus on the information that answers the question. So do not summarize everything. Look at the question, like I mentioned. If the question is saying summarize the causes of HIV/AIDS, so in the entire passage, ignore everything else and only focus on the causes of HIV and aids. Now, let's look at a note form in a bit more detail. So, a note form, as I said earlier, it lists information using points in a clear, direct manner. So if they say write the causes of AIDS, you can even say causes of AIDS include unprotected sex, using of sharp instruments with someone who's got HIV/AIDS. You can go on and on and on and on depending on the answers that are available in the passage. Everything is written in point form. You can use ... or A, B, C, D. You can also use numbers 1, 2, 3 to write your points. But they have to be short, summarized points holding the answer. This one is easy. It looks clean, it looks clear, and it's to the point. And the good thing is, whether you are good at grammar or not, this summary is not going to expose you because you're just writing points as you find them in the passage that you are reading. The second one is writing prose summary. How do you write prose summary? Prose summary, as I said, is a summary that you write using a paragraph. You write in paragraph form, meaning that in the first part, if you had those points written in note form, then you need to connect those using sentence connectors, and this is where you put in a bit of grammar. So the example I gave, you can say the causes of HIV and AIDS include having sex, having unprotected sex, comma, using sharp instruments with someone who's got HIV, or sharing sharp instruments with someone who has got HIV and AIDS, and breastfeeding a baby by a mother who is HIV positive. You can see I've added commas there, I've added the word "and" to make the sentence correct and meaningful. So if you've got more things to say, obviously the examiner asks you questions using an appropriate estimation of the number. So they look at the points in the passage and say, okay, I think writing this passage including connectors, sentence connectors, it might take 120 words. It might take 130 words. That's why you see that this year they ask you to write 120 words, the following year 130 words, sometimes 140 words. Yeah, so they'll look at the points in the passage, and using that appropriate estimation, you should be able to arrive at the same level. But I think you can go beyond by 5 or less. Yeah, because summary is not just writing points, but it's also showing that you know how to condense information to a specific number that you are given, because this skill is very important when you go to university, where you'll be required to read articles and books to write an assignment. You'll be summarizing information from articles and other relevant materials. So skill, the summary skill is very important, and therefore you need to follow just these simple steps. Mistakes that you need to avoid. Number 1, do not copy the full sentence. If you are reading the passage and you find that there is an answer in this sentence, don't copy the whole sentence, just copy the answer. So for example, if the sentence says, a lot of authors have written about the causes of HIV and AIDS, and one of the prominent ways that HIV is transmitted to other people is through unprotected sex. I have said so many things. The only thing you are looking for in that sentence is unprotected sex, because it is a cause, not all these things, all the words that I said before that. So avoid that. Avoid including unnecessary details or examples. Examples are not part of the answer. Do not include examples. Number 3, do not use informal or unclear language. When you are writing a summary, you are writing a formal type of paragraph, so you need to be formal and use clear language. Then the next one is writing too much or too little. I mentioned this already. If you are told to write 125 words, you can write 120, you can write 130, or you can write 125 exactly, which is usually not possible to write the exact number, but do not write too many words beyond. And actually in the exam, in the Zambian, in paper 2 of the Zambian grade 12 exam or GCE exam, they will say anything beyond the word limit will be cancelled and it will not be considered part of the answer. So there's no point in writing too many when what you are writing beyond the number that you are given is not going to be considered. Then do not repeat the same point using different words. So for example, authors have got a way, or in passages, there is a style of writing where you can talk about one thing in different ways just to make a point. You are not supposed to repeat it. For example, if my best example is having unprotected sex as one of the causes or as one of the ways that you can transfer HIV and AIDS, and if someone says sleeping around, it's in the same category, so you don't need to repeat that. You don't need to repeat that. Say something else. Avoid these mistakes and your summary will stand out in the best way possible. Now, what I have said in this short lesson is that you need to read your passage carefully if you're going to answer your summary question correctly. You need to identify and underline key points. Focus only on the relevant part of the passage or part of the sentence. I gave an example already. Write clearly, briefly, and logically. Follow the required format. If you are asked to write a note form for you are in grade 10 or grade 9, write a note form. If you are required to write a prose form, write a prose form. And then stick to the word limit, or else whatever you write beyond that will not be counted. And try to use your own sentence connectors if you're writing prose form so that you can connect those sentences properly. Thank you so much for joining me in this lesson. And if you are interested in learning more, check out my website. There are notes and there are also courses which you can join. Thank you so much and bye-bye.